the album concept hour. The album concept hour. It's the album concept hour.
There is also Cowboy Bebop of it all, so we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, and we can talk about it on record instead.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sure how much of y'all were familiar with the show as well as the album. If any of you coming,
you're familiar with? Are you familiar with Cowboy Bebop, Dave? I think I just assumed for some reason.
A decent chunk. We started. So
we're at different levels right now. I think
Okay.
Dave is familiar with
a decent chunk of the cartoon. I watched the live action with my wife.
Yeah.
I remember like clips when it first aired, like in 2000.
Oh,
I'm trying to remember
you're talking about the first cartoon, 2001.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I remember watching that, like, it would just be in the background, like my old apartment.
That's about my familiarity.
I never sat down and watch episode per episode, but I got into it later.
Yeah, we're gonna start here. Actually, this is gonna be in it because
I was
going to ask you guys
stepping on the content.
No, that's fine. And so because I wanted to ask you guys this at the beginning too, because I know I've watched them all. The series probably a couple times, and then the episodes I really like a bunch of times.
Okay, we were on similar levels probably then.
Yeah, so I was going to say, so in order to kick off this podcast, then, you got to record your Audacity.
Tell me when to start.
We are starting.
Okay.
Sometimes I just roll into it. Sometimes we just roll into it.
We're just talking and
just
hit record.
It just kind of hits home.
We're going. Yeah. So you heard another voice. I'm Brad. You heard Dave and John talking about their experiences with Cowboy Bebop, their various experiences. And you're probably wondering, why are we talking about Cowboy Bebop? Well, it's because we're finally talking about the Cowboy Bebop original soundtrack by Kanno, Yoko, and the Seatbelts, or the Seatbelts featuring Kanno, Yoko. I don't know how they want to, what the proper... I don't know.
What came first?
Yeah. But we have a guest here that is going to be helping us talk about some Cowboy Bebop original soundtrack. This is someone that is all over the podcasting world in the last couple of years, hailing from Seattle. We have Robert Persinger. And did I say that right, Persinger?
Correct. Yeah.
So before I even get into the Cowboy Bebop stuff, what are a couple of those podcasts that you've been so graced to work on during the pandemic?
Thank you. Yeah, I've been a part of the Doughboys podcast, which is maybe the one of the bigger podcasts out there.
Seriously. I know. I don't know if you guys have heard Doughboys, but it's definitely a big deal out in various places.
I'm biased, because I worked for them, but I was a big fan. Became an employee. I remain on a paid employee as a Discord mod, but my roles have changed and whatnot. But it was good stuff. And
one of the guys you've probably seen on movies, if I were to point him out, you know what I mean? So there's I'll maybe show you guys a few clips of some of the guys from Doughboys. I'm like the big podcast nerd of the three. Well, the Earwolf nerd of the three. And so whenever I talk about Earwolf stuff from time to time, but
just time to
they don't have much context when I mention it. But yeah, Doughboys, excellent podcast, and that must be amazing to have been asked to be brought on for a while. Was it for a while, 100%. Or are you still working with them?
So we're just not the same capacity. I used to be associate producer. I'm just I'm still on the payroll, as it were. Yes. Now I'm on Hollywood Handbook and the Flagrant Ones, Sean and Hayes.
Yeah,
those men.
Those men. Yep.
Yes.
The boys.
And it's really great. And they're also now on the same, I can't get away from them both. All my bosses are in the same, podcast studio now, Headgum.
Yes. They're all congregating at Headgum these days. All those random podcast weirdos are getting together.
Hey, it's good stuff.
I love it.
It's a renaissance.
Yeah.
Again.
I never thought I'd see the day where Hollywood Handbook was in the same studio as the Doughboys. That's a timeline I didn't see.
What a time to live in.
Yeah.
What a time.
What a time to be alive.
Yeah.
To put you into context for our listeners, Kevin Bartelt is your boss.
That's correct.
When I was first messaging with you back and forth, when you said Kevin Bartelt is you said, that's my boss. I thought you were joking at first because I was like, oh, is it really? this guy's also connected to Kevin?
And then I was like, he's I think you said he's all of our boss. And I was like, no, he's like actually my boss though.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I was like, oh yeah, that's funny. Yeah. He's literally Robert's boss. We thought that we'd get even more of the Flagrant family. We've had Hassan on, we've had Kevin on, and so
great stuff.
You are our latest in the Flagrant family. I'm really glad that we're getting on starting with this Cowboy Bebop soundtrack.
I'm excited.
So what is your kind of what's your experience? You've heard a little bit of our experience with Cowboy Bebop, but what is your experience with the anime known as Cowboy Bebop?
Well, I probably got into anime when I was like younger, and it was a similar thing to a lot of kids my age where now I can't remember the name of the company that would kind of like translate videos and bring them over, but like Ninja Scroll and Ghost in the Shell and it had like the flaming logo in the beginning, but you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. But that triggered a memory.
It was such an important like company for like getting something from Japan on VHS to America, and like a dub if you were lucky and subs otherwise, and just kind of started exposing kids my age to that. And Toonami on Cartoon Network was a huge one too, because they were a big importer of anime, and it would recycle a lot, especially Dragon Ball Z, something like that, where we get only so many episodes translated and then it started back over. But Cowboy Bebop was a huge one for that. And I almost never missed it if I could help it. They would do blocks of episodes and I've been a fan for, It felt, not only was it a good show, but you felt sneaky staying up to watch it.
That's
so
right.
That was
the extra.
This was kind of the I don't know, like there wasn't a whole lot of stuff on TV at this time. In 2001 was when this.
It wasn't
aired
quite
in Adult
like
Swim.
it wasn't. This concludes our broadcast day, and then the American flag shows up. But it was like it got to just be infomercials and just stuff that wasn't worth watching.
After
so it was
midnight,
fun to have that chunk. And MTV had a block of programming too. I think they had like Liquid Television and some other stuff at that.
There would be music videos at all hours. What was that?
The Max.
The Max. Yeah. I knew if I was watching the Max that it was getting to be like midnight or later, and I was like, wow, I should go to bed.
I spent many a night at friends' houses because we didn't have cable. So I would be at friends' houses like in the wee hours of the morning, just watching music videos and stuff. Like it was just. So there was this is pre-YouTube listeners. So entertainment was limited. But this was one thing. Adult Swim, especially for anyone that was kind of a teen or preteen at that time, it was a very formative thing on TV. Adding Cowboy Bebop to the mix of what we already loved about Adult Swim, was just, icing on the cake. Were you there in the when it first came out, or did you catch it on like reruns?
That's a great question. Because however long it took to first come to Toonami in America, I want to say I probably watched it when it first started coming out, because I was watching I was watching that programming already. I don't know if there's any way I could have seen a preview. I'm trying to think what would have come out around then.
I did do some research. There was a version of it that came out in I think Europe before it was in America. So because
same voice
it came
actors
out,
though.
I don't think it's the same voice actors. It might have just been like a dub situation, but I think that there was a release of it somewhere else between Japan and here, like because 98 is when it was released originally, and then 2001 is when we got it on.
That's definitely when I would have seen it. I don't think I would have, because even though I referenced that, like I was seeing some anime through tapes and stuff. I don't think I would have. I don't know that I would have seen it prior to its airing on television.
I think there was already some Dragon Ball Z happening, so we were kind of primed. We were primed for the anime, but like this, like Dragon Ball Z was like one thing, but then Cowboy Bebop was such a giant leap forward as far as our anime viewing experience.
Mm-hmm. It's so adult. I mean, it still has a lot of humor adult. Too, but it's so noir. It's so moody. It's a Western. It's a space opera. It's just
beautifully drawn and animated. Like it's got so many fresh ideas. Like it's something that people are still trying to reach the level of space cowboyness that this show put forth, in just 26 episodes. It's a short,
whole run of the whole show is 26 episodes. It's really,
and that's it. Tight. Yeah. Talking about this, I was curious, like, so you've seen have you seen all of the Netflix live action?
Oh yeah,
Dave?
we saw all that.
So I didn't see the whole thing. What did you think of the live action as compared to some of the episodes that you saw?
So I'll rewind. When we started watching, because my wife was a fan when it started. Like when it first started in America, she watched all those episodes.
Yeah.
I occasionally, because it'd be on like usually like after bar time, or be like something else would be on like, let's watch this. So it'd be something like just in the background while we're doing something. So I never really watched it, so I never really took it in.
Yeah.
I remember it.
Yeah.
So when we watched the live action, like, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. Then we went back and we started the cartoon series or the animated and went all the way. We got pretty far. I didn't finish it.
Okay.
But I'm like, I thought they're both pretty good for what they were. Like I didn't dog one. I'm like, no, it was a good version. Like I was impressed by the live action.
I saw the first 2 episodes and I really liked, especially Spike. I thought that not Spike, Jet was excellent, I think.
Jet, I think, was pretty perfect casting. I think.
Yeah, I don't know how they got someone so perfect for that.
Yeah, and I think Spike was pretty good casting. I won't go too hard in on it because I'm obviously a big fan of the anime, but
I think if you're very close to the material, it could be difficult.
I didn't think Faye was super great casting, and then these are not a knock on the actors or anything. It's just like. As far as like an adaptation, I think it was just frustrating for me to have someone where like I just said, I think it was Mustafa Shakir, I think is his name, playing Jet, where it felt ripped out of it. He was really evoking that character.
Yeah.
And then so it was frustrating when there was other characters like Vicious, for example, is a very different character in the live action. He's more pathetic in my opinion, and I just wasn't getting the same vibes as the character in the anime.
Well,
but the character in the anime is also
very limited in the anime.
Yeah, but he's also so mysterious. Yeah. He's very one note villain. I'm gonna get my revenge and kill you, Spike. But that's what's good about him in the anime. In this one, I feel like you got way too much of him, and he was too human in a way that was kind of took the teeth out of him a bit. But again, I was interesting to me because I was talking with some folks earlier, and I said, I wonder if anyone watched the Netflix one and then, became aware of or got into the anime after the fact, because it's weird to think about going the opposite direction.
That's why I was asking Dave a little bit, because like that's what you kind of did.
It was most. I was aware of it. I've seen a few episodes here and there, but for me, it actually sitting down watching, beginning to end, and watching the full chunk. I feel like I kind of did that.
Mm-hmm.
There was past knowledge, but actually, it was kind of fun to see the reverse. And
well, I mean, I think one thing I was saying earlier about it is I don't think that, especially with anime, I don't know if they've ever really cracked that nut yet for me with live action. I mean, there's been some good visuals here and there, but I don't know, man. Anime is just so good already as it is, so it's really hard to try and one up in any way,
Yeah, I'm really trying to think of a good example of a really great live action adaptation.
Yeah, I don't know.
And some of them are very human. Like there's nothing that couldn't happen with real actors, but I think some of the charm of it is the art style and the nuance of that.
The style. Yeah. You need someone that is so insanely stylistic with their choices to make an anime.
Gillian or something.
Yes. Oh my God. Terry Gilliam with anime movie would be amazing, honestly.
Or Wes Anderson, I think his animated stuff, like the Fantastic Mr. Fox, that's a good way to. I feel like that style works with his vision. But anime in some cases feels like it's hard to. It's odd to me because there are stories that you can easily. It's just human characters in a village or a city, and they're having relationships, and it feels like you could just film it and that would be fine. But it's missing something in most cases, I feel.
Yeah.
I think that the fail rate is so high and the success rate is so minimal. I mean, it's hard to pull off because you're trying to take a different format and then completely redo it.
Yeah.
But if you're so used to like the style, you're saying like everything that goes into like the anime, and like, well, now we have a live action. It's like, well.
Yeah, right. and I think when they crack that, like it's going to be like an MCU level event, maybe. You know what I mean? When someone can actually like figure it out. Like I don't know, that'd be really really cool. But yeah, so far again, I don't think I've seen a movie or live action series that's quite like reach those levels.
I think Akira would be fun to do.
Akira,
that's been
that would be
bounced
crazy,
around for
weird
years. I don't know if you're aware of like there was like Leonardo DiCaprio was going to be, Kaneda and and it was going to be Neo Manhattan instead of Tokyo, which I was also like, it's so much about being in a Tokyo that got bombed in the future. You can't change that. So I would probably be a pedant about that. I don't know if they're actually going to ever make that happen, but I was reminded.
It'd be tough. Maybe Guillermo del Toro could do something that grotesque.
I mean, he does the grotesque very well, so the body horror stuff would come through. He might be able to
pull off. Yeah.
I did want to ask you guys something, and you can cut me off and we can plow ahead because Guardians is I think the recent episode I listened to.
Oh yeah.
So I haven't listened to the last couple other than that, and I was curious. Have you guys put your thoughts out there on? And we can also keep it spoiler free. Again, we can just skip this. But Guardians 3, did you enjoy it? And particularly the soundtrack, since that's your guys' thing.
So I'll let you start, John. How do you feel?
I very much enjoyed the movie.
Okay.
It was difficult.
Yeah.
I cried.
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
It's an emotional movie.
It was hard.
It's got you. It gets you by the neck immediately.
The soundtrack itself, I thought, was really good. Actually, it fit most of the material very well. Mm-hmm. That the best scene for me was the one where they're flying out in the yellow suits.
Oh yeah, that's great.
And that was cool. What was the song?
That whole sequence was fun.
My brain is skipping right now.
I'm not sure. Like I haven't seen it again.
I know that scene was like that. That was the best, the most resonant, the most like Guardians for me. Like it really melded right to the whole thing.
Yeah.
It was very good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Dave, did you see 3 yet?
I have not.
Okay.
I did watch the Guardians.
We'll say relatively spoiler free then. Yeah.
Songs are played in the movie. Sorry.
Songs are played. They're used as cues.
Hot damn.
Yeah. Sometimes to change scenes even.
Any wipes?
and wipes. I don't know if they do wipes. But I really. I enjoyed the soundtrack. I thought it was even maybe more niche than the previous ones.
But the movie went that direction, which is why I totally support it.
I like that a few of the choices were not what you would expect listening to the first 2 soundtracks.
It's true. And like you guys commented on, the end of the second movie has the Zune introduced. So all of a sudden we have a whole extra eras of songs that can be played. And even beyond what I think you guys speculated, which was like maybe into the 90s, and it definitely goes into the 2000s and beyond.
Oh, that ending scene
I was still kind of surprised that it did that. Yeah.
And so for me, I really love the soundtracks from the first 2. And I think I also appreciate that there's a time period that they stay between. But I do think this one goes in new directions in the movie. And also, for that reason, I'm kind of glad they picked a lot more diversity of songs too.
Like I don't think that it, I think I said it in the episode, but I think that the second movie is the perfect use of the soundtrack in Guardians, and I didn't think that they were going to be able to top that. And I don't think that they really did, because it's not weaved into the story as much. Like it's so integral to the story of Guardians 2.
That's true.
For this one it was great, and probably about as good as 1 in my eyes, maybe, but like 2 I think is maybe again I said in the episode,
2 was
the best.
peak Guardians.
I think as far as the soundtrack with the scenes goes,
The ending with
but
the ending with the Ravager funeral might be the best, one of the better scenes.
That scene. That
was pretty incredible.
I still tear up when I see that
Mary
scene, man.
Poppins, y'all.
Yeah,
it's great stuff.
Yeah, man.
Anyway, sorry to go off track. I was just curious because that was on.
That was cool.
Absolutely. But with that, let's move on to what you guys are all waiting for. You're really waiting for a little clip from the Cowboy Bebop, and you know where it starts, so you know you're about to hear that sweet tank. But I did write this little Nick Weiger-esque intro.
Wow.
For the episode that I forgot to get to, so I'm just going to use it for the intro of this clip. All right. So let's all go back to the year 2001. It's early September, and you're in that awkward stage of your life when you don't know who you are or what you like. Soon something happens that will change everything. From a faraway land, something arrives in the United States that will rock its very foundation with an impact that we still feel a generation later. Hold on. Sting. That's right. I'm talking about the premiere of Cowboy Bebop on Adult Swim, September 2nd, 2001. When those first horns hit your ears and you took in the animation style, you knew you were in for a new era of storytelling. And with that, here's the clip I chose. Yeah. Oh yeah. There it is. There's Tank.
All right. I want to come in hot on this.
It's coming in hot. I love it.
I'm not.
What do you got?
I love anime, but I can't pretend that I've seen a million billion series. This might be the best intro to an anime series ever. It also might be one of the best intros to just a television show ever. It is so.
Yeah.
It is so good. Yeah. It comes in loud. The actual credits matched up with it. The silhouettes and everything are just so intense. And I love, there's so many, 80s and 90s shows that have just like really catchy, great theme songs. But Tank is, man, it's something else. What a song. Yeah. What a way to kick off a series.
Yeah. Like that's part of why I have that in the intro. Like with the first time those horns hit your ears, like it's just like, what is this? I've never heard this music. I've never seen this sort of style. Like
that's not what a kid would be growing up. Nothing would sound like that when you were staying up and watching cartoons. And I think we talked about, staying up late. No. Sometimes the blare of these horns wakes you up and you're like, oh, Cowboy Bebop's on. Like I'm watching Adult Swim or Toonami or whatever. And
that's a good point. I didn't think about that, but that's true. That would startle you up if you did fall asleep watching.
100%.
I wonder if that even played in. It was just one of those just insanely, instantly iconic stings. And we were, we've talked a lot about, Power Rangers recently, and like we were in the era of like that kind of, still kind of hard rocky kind of stuff in theme songs. I just remember, first of all, hearing this the first time. And second of all, hearing the full song the first time and finding out that it wasn't just a 30-second, 40-second snippet. There was a full version. And that was one of the things that kind of blew my mind as a kid. And that's why I chose this particular clip. This clip is where it goes off into a new section. And I'm like, what? How is this section somehow better than what I've already heard? Like it's, And I grew up with a lot of jazz in my family because my brother played jazz trumpet and we had a jazz program at my high school. So we never got my brother never got the group to play Tank, but it was always being floated around.
I feel that I was about to comment.
They were always trying to figure it out.
I feel like at some point there were schools that ended up incorporating Tank into their marching bands because it's just also it lets everyone play, right? Like it feels like everyone has to be blaring and going. Like no one is really resting during that song. It's
everyone going nuts.
That's true. Everyone's going balls to the wall. And like somehow it works. Like I don't understand. It still doesn't. entirely makes
sense.
And
like you commented, it feels like a song that I don't think I was listening. I wasn't listening to like that kind of jazz, that kind of funk when I was that age. So that was truly like exposure to a new genre in this, also in something that you might have also never been exposed to, which is anime, and also anime of this caliber. That's why this show is just hitting so many marks for me.
And I think that one of the interesting things about it is, I think John was talking about the kind of feedback loop we have with Japan as far as our cultures go.
Absolutely.
Like, jazz is, an American export, you know what I mean? And then this anime is a Japanese export. And like they're meeting somewhere in the middle to create this Cowboy Bebop thing, which is like,
fusion.
Really a great fusion of both cultures in a lot of ways, which is, I think, part of the reason it was the one that broke through.
I guess with Yoko Kanno and the Seatbelts, I'm just blown away that this is there's so many disparate kinds of songs to me. It just feels like it's hard for me to imagine that they all came together and made all these disparate sort of sounding ones, but it's something else.
Well, this was like the beginning probably of my, kind of going down the rabbit hole of like, anime music and just, the Japanese kind of culture when it comes to music. It seems like in Japan, there's just such a bigger like nationwide respect for jazz and for music in general. Cause like whenever they attempt something like this, it's just so spot on, and it's got, all of the markings of like a good jazz record from like the 70s or something from the US, You
could thank the compact disc for that.
What do you mean?
When CDs came out in the US, everyone was ditching their record album, their collections, and a good chunk of them are going to Japan. Mostly jazz. People were buying the collections and sending them back. And they started opening up these little coffee shops, and they're just filled with jazz. You go in there, you buy a cup of coffee, and give them a few bucks, and you pick a record, they put it on for you.
Yeah.
So it became like jazz was a huge thing in Japan.
That's
awesome.
Gotta love that cross culture, man.
Dude, yeah.
They gave up our records, and they're like, we'll take them.
Yeah, we'll take them. We'll send you guys an anime like in a couple decades. That's going to
30 years will be good.
So good.
Trust me, this is a good investment. Send us some jazz, and you're not going to believe the series we send you.
Yeah. You're not going to believe the kind of stuff that you see. I don't know. I just did Donald Trump voice.
A throwback to the intro. Like the only thing I think that tried to do this was Archer.
Oh, that's right.
Archer's
intro was pretty solid.
It's kind of the horns and stuff like that.
A very kind of similar throwback.
You're right. I never even thought about that, but you're totally fucking right. It really does kind of rip off Cowboy Bebop.
Because at the end, like the fall, basically, I think it's like the splash or something going to the cup. I can't remember exactly the intro. But
there's something dropping into something. I think
it's the ball that falls off.
Which kind of was
drop the ball. Huh?
Yeah. Well, I guess.
And it's all sort of James Bondy, the horns and the kind of the sort of the bigness of it for the intro.
Yep.
So.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah. A lot of James Bond's. There's actually a song in here where you hear the James Bond like.
Oh really?
Just for like a measure. I don't know if I got it in a clip. I'm not sure if I got it in a clip.
Well, if you remember, bring it up when we hear it.
Hopefully, I wrote down a note. But you guys want to get onto the next clip though?
Yeah.
We'll try to put some context to some of these clips, but I don't know if we'll be able to remember where all of them are in the series.
I have listed down some of the episodes that they popped up in.
Okay.
And I have like a site that says kind of when they were popping up. I remember a lot of the times when they pop up, but some of them are multiple episodes, so it's you'll be like, oh, I've heard this a couple times,
Because in Genius, someone went through and almost like a robot just said. Described the scenes that they're in without any context to anything else.
Wow.
It was very strange and not super helpful. Okay,
I'll after this episode is over, I'll go through and I'll tidy up a little bit if I can.
Okay. Thank you. Here is track 2, Rush. Yeah. They keep the bebop going at least a few tracks before they switch it up, But This one is this one's used a few times in some key scenes. This is like is it in the first episode?
It's in the first episode when he goes and fights Asimov, the guy who's smuggling all the red eye, and they have like the fight. Spike is in a poncho and he's starting to do his Jeet Kune Do. Such a great intro to his fighting style too, because he does that Bruce Lee style. It's so good.
And then it looks like it's animated in a way that like the camera looks like it's
swooping around. He's keeping his arms under the poncho and just kicking at first, and it's great stuff. Yeah, iconic scene. Like because again, like you were saying, that you're just getting to know the character, and this is the first time you're seeing him use that. The Jeet Kune Do, is that what's called? I believe that's the style he's mimicking. Yeah.
And it's the cameras, you don't realize when watching like Dragon Ball Z or whatever, that the camera's not moving a whole lot in the shots, the quote unquote shot. But in this one, it's treated in a very cinematic way.
Yeah. Swings around.
Another hallmark of the show where like it's storyboarded and animated in a way that feels cinematic, that feels like they're moving a camera around and stuff in a lot of scenes. So it's another mark in its favor.
Another reason that it's like it's so hard to try to one up the animes in a live way.
Sure.
Because like you could do like a CG version of it, but then why would you? Honestly, for the most part.
And again, it's all it's just humans fighting. It's something you could totally shoot, but it just wouldn't have the same effect. Really,
doesn't have the same flair.
Exactly.
They do start with the Red Eye story in the live action too, right?
That's woven through it for sure. That the drug is
the first couple.
They kind of weave it into another character, because there's the Pierrot LeFou episode with kind of the mad clown, but that was never connected to Red Eye, and it is in this one. It's another thing I think is kind of, I get what they're doing in the live action one to kind of make it all weave through, but I like that the anime has a lot of...
they tried to tie things together where the anime is more...
There's a lot of it feels like there's bottle episodes of the anime.
Or free jazz.
Yeah, I was about to say, because it's not even chronological, right?
Other than they get Faye at some point, they get Ein and Ed at some point. So there's a point where they don't have the full crew, but there are episodes like the mushroom where they all get high on mushrooms. There's an episode where the creature escapes on the ship and it's attacking people, and they're all kind of bottle episodes, but they still give a lot of character. They have a lot of great music tracks for sure, and it just feels like you can watch them on a whim, and it never sort of affects the chronology. There's a cutoff and a beginning.
Does Spike die though in an early episode, and then is just back? Isn't there like a flash forward in an earlier episode?
Well, the implication and spoilers for the series is that I believe he was shot and in the head, I believe, and had an eye replaced. So he has technically died before, and they kind of allude to that, but he's not like a robot or a clone or anything. He's just been...
Am I stupid? Was that in the past?
I'm a first time guest, so I'm not gonna say for sure that's the case, but
that whole maybe it's just the way that it's shot, the story is told. Maybe it's just because I was a kid when I watched it at first, but like it always was like, so wait, is he dead at the end of the series, or is he not dead?
The actual very end of the series, my headcanon is he points at the screen and he says "bang" in front of a bunch of mobsters, and then he falls on the stairs and. The implication to me is that he has died. But prior to that, he's died before. He was, gunned down and came back for what it's worth. So very noir, which I love how gritty it is in some of those episodes. The Jet backstory episodes particularly feel like old detective stuff.
Jet's like, he's the old cop that's been in the force for a long time.
ACAB except for Jet.
Seen some shit.
ACAB except for Jet, absolutely.
And also, but back to this track though, I like that it does evoke Tank. It's got the horns, it's got that kind of like energy and excitement to it. And I think you said it does pop up in maybe some other episodes too, but this first taste of it during the fight is perfect. And another thing that's awesome about this whole soundtrack is that you're sometimes just getting, little blips of these songs, and it's really great to be able to like listen to the whole track and be like, wow, it's a whole composition I wouldn't have heard if I watched the show. Some of them get the full treatment in there, but
a lot of them, they do put a decent amount of these into the like music, and a lot of time in the foreground. like this next track, Spooky Dokie. Spooky Dokie. Here's that. You hear this quite a bit, I think.
It's killing me, house.
Right. It's definitely this is where we get to the Western of it all.
Oh yeah.
You know,
right.
this is like straight up Western, country Western. We got
Gunslinger.
Sunio Imahori on guitar and Ryuichiro Seno on the harmonica. Rest in peace. He passed in 2017.
Oh, rest in peace.
Killing it on the harmonica though. This was just another little piece of the puzzle of Cowboy Bebop that was really interesting. Whenever, I feel like this was when people were like thinking or something.
You get a lot of like, they're walking around and going into a bar and looking for a lead or just kind of like wandering around the streets and you get this sting. There's another track. I'm trying to remember the name of another track, but Spooky Dokie has Forever Broke. There's another version that's like just guitar, and you get the same theme in a few episodes, but it's that same tune basically. But I love this one. I feel like Mars is kind of the more Western, deserty sort of town when they roll around to the planets in this series, and I feel like you hear Spooky Dokie a lot on Mars because it feels very saloon kind of dusty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just
it is.
You see the cowboy with the revolver hanging.
It's perfect. It was still being jazzy and modern, which I think is great.
Give me a sarsaparilla.
Yeah, the titles of the songs are very like indicative of what you're hearing. They're much like jazz is in general. Like there's not, a usual naming convention for jazz songs. It's just like, wow, what does this sound like?
Sure.
And they just say some words.
Blue is green.
They have to put some words down so it's not just track 1, track 2, track 3. This one also kind of evokes a little bit of what we hear or see in Trigun. I know Trigun's music was also very indicative of this track in particular and this style. For me, Trigun and Cowboy Bebop were kind of hand in hand as far as the music and presentation and everything goes.
I definitely watched that series when it was out too. That was one though where I felt like the episodes veered between. To me, I felt more of like the seriousness of some episodes and then the comedic parts of some episodes. And it feels like Bebop threaded the needle even better within definitely the same thing. Sometimes Spike would do something silly in the middle of a very serious episode or something, but I enjoyed the both.
Trigun had the problem where like the manga wasn't done yet. So like the ending of Trigun, the anime is not as good as the ending of Trigun, the manga. You know what I mean? So it's Cowboy Bebop was like everything was fleshed out front to back. It seemed,
Perfect. I love when there's a set ending, even with series today. It's when someone says, "Hey, I want to do a show and I want to do 3 seasons." Beautiful. I'm glad you know what you want to do. I don't want it to go on longer than it needs to.
Have you watched Dark?
I've not watched Dark, but I've had a lot of recommendations. And
3 seasons. 3 seasons. It's a perfect amount of time for that show. I was happy that they stopped. Love it when that happens. I couldn't agree with you more. In this world of like an unending, IPs,
Yeah,
it's like nice just let a couple of them die for a while,
So that's when a show can step back and go like, "That's it. We said it all.
We've said it all. Let's try
not
to ruin it.
Oh, we'll have more side stories. We'll bring some more people.
Yeah,
right on over. No, just stop."
Sometimes you
Don't
stop.
do it.
Sometimes you just stop. In the words of this soundtrack, "Bad Dog, No Biscuit." Here's "Bad Dog, No Biscuit."
Oh, bad.
You know what that sounds very reminiscent of?
What?
Dun, 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 dun.
Oh,
The Incredibles.
Yeah.
Oh,
that same just like
jazzy,
it does have
and
that
just like a big
super
band
spy.
doing it all.
Yeah, brass.
Yep.
No, that's a great observation.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's
because like that's what the Incredibles were like made after, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I didn't think about that. I haven't seen that one in a long time.
I'm sorry. What?
Oh no, I didn't think about that. And there's another song that we'll listen to eventually where there's like maybe like a Christmas song or something that it starts to sound like when it first plays to me. So I was trying to pick that out. No, this is the episode where I think this is the second episode where they get Ein, the corgi.
Yeah.
So this plays during like a chase scene.
Chasing Ein through the market and stuff.
Chasing Ein and someone else is chasing him, and
it's like a classic like Jackie Chan-esque chase where it's like really silly and over the top and like people are getting in his way and things like. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Jumping over fences.
Yeah, going through alleys and things.
They transfer to the river at one point. Yeah.
It's a good one. And Ein, if you don't know, is the was it a Shiba Inu or
it was a corgi?
It was a corgi.
He's a data dog. So apparently smarter in some ways than other dogs.
Yeah. He's apparently a smarter dog, but like they don't really get into it that much in the series. Yeah,
it's never like a lingering thing where like it's gonna be revealed how smart he is. He's just kind of a clever dog, and then sometimes he's also just a dog. Yeah,
exactly. I love how. Because that's what's also so unconventional and interesting about the show is the way that they pick up the rest of the cast. Like it starts off and you think that you just got these two guys and you just have this premise and this premise is good. It's like, okay, cool. This is the show.
I'll watch this.
And then they pick up a dog and it's like, okay, now a dog's on the crew. And then they pick up Faye. It's like, okay, that makes sense. And then they pick up
Edward.
Edward, and it's like. Oh, okay, this is like episode 6 or something. What is this?
It's like a live role playing game. Like all of a sudden, you got your characters. All of a sudden, like, another player has joined the party. Like, sweet.
Yeah.
What can you do?
But then when you get the party together, it's just so good. They're the way they interact with each other. They become a family by the end of the series. It's a really
having some noodles.
Yeah. You know how they do over in Cowboy Bebop. So this is when Ein joins the situation, great Bebop, like the first 2 tracks. There's kind of a little middle point where it almost becomes like a ska song.
Yeah,
like there's a real like upstroking guitar going on. Fun track. And then we got from Bad Dog No Biscuit, we go to Cat Blues.
Good walking around music.
A cigarette.
I was gonna say
cigarette and a whiskey.
It's so like it's like Pink Panthery. It feels like someone kind of going like this and like walking around like a
yeah.
I want to be
call. That's a very good call.
I want to be in a darkly like smoky like bar basement.
Well, I was also thinking of course,
lighting up cigarette.
I was thinking of like Quincy Jones, Austin Powers theme.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Very. I don't know what exactly that style. I feel like there's a specific style of that kind of jazz, but I don't know what it is. But just a very
classy
very
jazz,
fun, just slinky. Like
I think we're gonna call it slinky jazz.
Pink Panther. Yeah.
I love
Pink Panther jazz, slinky jazz, whatever you want to call it.
I love that clarinet you got there.
Oh yeah.
That is just.
Well, good. We have good brass. We have good woodwind. We have good drums.
Yeah, I didn't do the research, but like, how big is the ensemble of Seatbelt? Like, how big is this band? It just feels huge.
I think the Seatbelts is kind of like the Gorillas in that sense, because when I was looking through
they're
it,
all cartoon
looked like
characters.
Yes, they're all cartoon characters that become CGI and rap.
With Del the Funk and Homo Sapien.
Only once or twice. No, what I was looking through the, various pages on Genius, there were, certain people that were in like several tracks.
Floating members kind of around the...
Yeah. Okay. And, I don't know, maybe they had a house band that was in a lot of them, but not, labeled individually.
Sure.
But yeah, there's like a few times that, Sunio Imahori, the guitarist, you can kind of hear when he's coming in. He's got a very specific style. Mm-hmm. I think the guy that played the harmonica that passed in 2017, I think he's just in the one track, and then the harmonica later is a different person.
Wow.
So, there's I think an interchanging cast of characters too.
Revolving door like studio.
Yeah, like the one constant is Kanno Yoko or Yoko Kanno. Because that's the composer, the producer, and all that, and she plays piano, I think, in like one track.
Wow!
On the soundtrack,
it's just a testament to them because I said, it sounds like if you told me this was the Tokyo Philharmonica, I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. It's a huge production of all these instruments. Right? It just sounds they're doing a lot.
Yeah. And I gotta assume that doing this whole. If you want to do this whole album as an orchestra, it would be a challenge because you got to hit so many styles so perfectly. You know? Another fun track, and then we get into some space stuff with Cosmos and Space Lion. I gotta say, I love how this soundtrack is paced. I think it's very well paced. Like it starts off with a lot of the bebop, a little bit of the country, and then kind of eases you to Space Lion. I think Space Lion is where you realize it's like something
different,
bigger.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about that.
Yeah. So here is Cosmos, though, before we get to Space Lion.
Gentleman in an overcoat meets a lady in a dark corner.
It screams old film noir.
It's so noir. It's amazing.
The dude behind his desk.
Yeah.
And it's perfect because it
makes you want to exposit.
It's monologue, inner monologue.
Yeah.
I told you, my head was just like ringing with that.
Yeah. What were you saying, Robert?
Oh, just that it's interesting in that on this soundtrack, this jumps ahead to episode 16. This is like a Jet episode where it's kind of his kind of noir sort of flashback. So I wonder if they had the track early, and then I wonder when the track released or the album released versus the actual entire show was out or not. But
I gotta think that the music came first. Because like there's so much of the music that's in the animation of the show.
Sure.
Sometimes
so it feels like they animated to it maybe.
I think that maybe
with it at least in mind.
That'd be my guess, or they were doing it at the same time.
Maybe.
But
it just fits the theme.
I'm not
so
really
well.
sure how the studio does things.
Yeah. Because we already said, this is like it's a space western noir. It has comedy elements, has so much drama elements, but like this is noir. This is. You guys already said it.
Yeah.
She came into my door and she had a case for me or whatever. It's that.
It's black and white.
It's so perfect. And it still has its own,
on the film.
It's still the seatbelts. It still has its own feel and it still is using those horns so masterfully, but man, it's so good.
Yeah. By the way, this is Nicholas Payton on the trumpet.
Nicholas Payton. Bless you.
Yeah. And I chose that part because I love a good just emotional trumpet where it's like because my brother, my brother Kevin was a jazz trumpet player, and like he would always talk about how like the reason there's no words is you're communicating through how you're playing and stuff.
Sure.
And this is one of those examples of that. I think you're communicating, the feeling through the sound.
No words are necessary.
Yeah.
We all came to the same conclusion from hearing the same 15 seconds of sound.
That's true. That's all we needed.
All four of us.
Yeah. Good point. And then we get on to the sleeper hit of the Cowboy Bebop soundtrack.
Space Jazz.
Space Lion.
Space Lion.
You almost got me. Space Lion.
Space Lion King. Like fall asleep to this album.
Dude, right?
It's like a White Noise album, but better.
Yeah. Until it gets back to the bebop.
Of course.
Yeah. It'll wake you back up again. But yeah, Space Lion though. This is I don't know if you have as much of a connection to it, but in the years after the soundtrack came out, this was one of those songs that like I don't know. Everyone really, really enjoyed for different reasons, I think. You know what I mean? It feels very weirdly personal. Like you can just kind of go on a journey while listening to it.
It's emotional, like especially if you know the connection to the show too. And it also, I love a song that kind of changes gears a little bit because it is kind of that somber jazz leading up to it. And then the part you played is when those vocals start coming in and it starts to become more tribal, more natural and has like a human voice to it. And it's, man, it's something else. And especially, like I said, when in Jupiter Jazz Part 2, which is a great combo of episodes, it's such an emotional kind of send off. It's really great stuff. It feels like a series end. When you watch it, even the credits roll in a different way where it seems like, did Cowboy Bebop just end? It's really something else.
I think that's part of what always confused me about the show is that like I never knew when each of the episodes was taking place. I could never trust that it was chronological for some reason. But they were so good with the just the direction and art style. Like, there's plenty of animes that like we'll use the exact same song at the beginning, exact same song at the end, and that's fine, but this one would change depending on what was happening.
The tone it was
in the tone of the episode.
Unique in that way.
Yeah. And just again, the soundtrack, I just remember, being in the backseat of like cars and stuff with my nerd friends listening to this, just like, man, because like it's one that like I don't know, like if you missed that episode or whatever, and you just like heard it on the soundtrack, you're like, oh man, I wonder what that scene was.
What is going on during this? It's so much.
You couldn't just YouTube it or whatever. You had to catch it again on Adult Swim at midnight or 2 a.m. or
back in the olden days.
The olden days of television.
We had to go around the old TV schedule. We liked it.
And we liked it.
Man, by then you had a TiVo. You could just record it and watch it later.
That's true. This was beginning to be TiVo times.
Which we did.
Oh yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I remember having a TiVo for some of that stuff.
Oh, nice. My parents didn't really believe in that sort of thing. They were just
that's devil technology.
We have an antenna on top of the television. We're good.
You have a TV guide, God damn it.
Yeah. What can cable give you that Fox and NBC and CBS can't? Well, everything. The answer is everything, actually.
All that dribble that I wasn't supposed to listen to and watch.
Although when we did get cable for a short time, they did absolutely love Space Ghost. Like they caught Space Ghost and they're like, what is this? This is
still a show that kind of confuses me as far as like, I know that they were probably sitting in a room and talking to the voice actor of Space Ghost, but the awkwardness of the interview makes it seem like they are talking to Space Ghost. It's so bizarre.
Well, it makes you think that the actual interviews were kind of that awkward.
I believe that too, but I choose to believe that the actual animated Space Ghost was also conducting them.
Of course. It was especially when that first happened, it was like, what is this? You find yourself doing that a lot or saying that to yourself a lot while watching Adult Swim. What am I watching? But this next track we got for you is the Waltz for ZZ. And this happens in some sad episodes too, right? Waltz for ZZ. Well, let's hear it. We'll hear it first.
My Bonnie lies over the sea. That's it.
Thank you. So that was that. And then it was also for me was what I alluded to earlier, which is like away in a manger. Like it was kind of, I thought it was like,
it's the same little bouncy bop.
Oh shit, you're right. It's that one too.
No,
That's
but
what
I think My Body Lies Over the
Sea
Sea is maybe even closer. It has that little twang in the guitar at least.
Yeah.
That was bugging.
This one is
the original is It Came Upon a Midnight Clear is the original melody. But
when I was looking
for many different things.
When I was looking this one up, I had it listed under Ballad of Fallen Angels, Ganymede Elegy, Bohemian Rhapsody, Boogie Woogie Feng Shui, and Hard Luck Woman. So this was in like a lot of little different moments of a lot of different episodes, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Because a few of these songs really stick with you, and they were in only one or two episodes, sometimes just one. And I like this one a lot, but I forgot that it was in so many little different parts. So
yeah, like this one and like, Spooky Dokie.
There's some little like filler parts where it just pops up and it just is kind of reminding you, hey, this is westerny. Hey, this is kind of, somber.
Yeah. Maybe that's what it's for. Sure. Yeah, because it is like it's a little more low key. Mm-hmm. It's not like in your face, like because you can't just throw Tank in the background of any scene.
No,
any old scene.
Well, you'd be a horrible.
Wouldn't that be? That'd be like a completely different version of Cowboy Bebop, where they just completely overuse the good theme. Like too much of a good thing, and just to ruin it.
Just like all the like quiet moments and flashbacks with Tank blaring over it. And it's like, God, couldn't they have gotten
every
one more
single
song
time.
out of this band?
By the end of it, no one ever wants to hear Tank again.
The master recut.
I don't want to live in that universe. Don't even say that.
Yeah, that'd be awful. Maybe we're not in the darkest timeline after all. Again, this is the game, the episode that I was reminded of was the chess one that this was in.
Yes.
The chess kid.
I think that's the Bohemian Rhapsody one, I think.
Oh, maybe that's what that one is.
Where Ed's playing the chess master across, a digital board or whatever.
I thought that was a really interesing episode.
It's great.
It was so weird and gritty and sci-fi.
It's like a guy who planned this grand sort of attack and forgot because he got so old. So he wasn't even the culprit anymore. He didn't remember that he'd even done that. So weird stuff.
Yeah, some weird and wild stuff.
Weird, wild stuff.
But it's such a good in between music for the show, and then we get to Piano Black for the track 9. Ooh. And this is where I was about to say, you're talking about you could fall asleep to the album. This is where you would wake up. Oh God, what's happening? Yeah. I love the I don't know if that's a sample in the background or if it's actually just a guy doing that.
It's so mechanical. I can't tell what if it's an instrument or if it's supposed to be just like, it sounds like a machine or something. It sounds like a giant typewriter or something.
Yes. Yeah. Like a giant typewriter or a train or something. Yeah. Something mechanical. Yeah.
This is also in that same Bohemian Rhapsody episode with the chess master. And then I think it's also in an early episode where I think it's the episode where you meet Faye, Honky Tonk Woman or Women, and she calls her ship in the middle of the casino and it breaks in and this all starts kicking her off, which is another great track to kind of introduce her because
she escapes the Spaders from Mars casino.
Yes,
yeah. That's a good pun. I never ever saw that. The Spaders from Mars. And also featured, as Jet Black found out, Chessmaster Hex's name.
Yeah,
you got it. And it's also where is it? I think that some of this has been sampled in hip hop songs and
that's really cool.
Yeah. And it was also apparently remixed on Cowboy Bebop Remixes Music for Freelance. Another album.
Yeah, that was such a time period too where I had this soundtrack back in the day, and it was probably over LimeWire or Kazaa. And I think I had
as one would have it.
Other tracks too, because it was interesting to me that like there's a song that we'll get to later that plays during a big Vincent episode, it's really evocative. But then there's a track in that same episode that doesn't show up for another album or two, I think, in the chronology. Greenbird.
That's right, because they do like 4 albums, or
something like that. And there's some weird oddball and B-sides and stuff like that. I was just getting whatever I could at the time. There. So
yeah, a lot of music out there for Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, did you see Darker Than Black at all? The anime?
Darker Than Black? No, I don't believe so.
So Darker Than Black was another project that Kanno Yoko did the music for.
Oh.
And it is like maybe it's one of the only animes I think that like comes close to this good of a soundtrack.
Wow.
For it. There's like an episode that entirely revolves around this song that's being played in the episode, and it's like a really haunting melody. So if you like this, I definitely recommend checking out the Darker Than Black soundtrack.
I'll have to check it out. That's a good endorsement.
The series is good too. The first season's great. And I think a lot of the same people that did Cowboy Bebop were on the same team for that.
Wow.
But yeah, highly recommend that if you like this music. And then the next track we have for you, we're gonna do one more track and we're gonna take a little break. So this is the reggae track on the album, and it is just called Pot City. So here's Pot City.
All right, I got a question for everyone.
What?
Who played Final Fantasy VII?
I've seen it played enough that I might be able to.
Yeah, I didn't play it.
So there's a recurring theme song that plays when a certain group called the Turks always walk in, and that sounds very similar to the exact same song.
Yes. The Japanese are known for their cultural sensitivity, by the way. I don't know if you guys knew this, but they're great at representing other cultures in their media. But yeah, Pot City, your example, Mr. Popo is another example, if you want to look into it.
Dragon Ball Z?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
That was apparently a weird caricature. I thought he was just an alien, like literally an alien.
I think he was too, but there was a similar thing with Pokemon and the Jinx character, I believe, that it initially was not so hot.
Yeah. Really racially charged imagery they just kind of loosely throw into children's shows.
That being said, I do think this is a decent attempt at a reggae style sort of
this is great.
Lazy sort of just groovy sort of song like that.
And I mean, Jamaica is Pot City. Like it's not there, it's not inaccurate. I
haven't been, so I'll take your word for it, but
I mean, I haven't been either. I just hear about trash bags full of weed, and I'm assuming that's
they're throwing it out. They have
got to be careful.
That's just a regular,
is what I've heard. There's everyone selling it. Everyone will sell it.
It's trash bags of
you
swag.
Got to be careful what you get, and you can get arrested for it if the officer decides to care. But they mostly don't care.
Okay.
The whole thing. I've heard a lot of
just don't make them care.
We need to take a podcast journey to Jamaica so we can confirm or deny these things.
Findings.
Yeah.
Special Pod City episode.
We need to go directly to Pot City. Yeah, we need to go to the source.
Pod City, Pot City.
Pod City. We'll do Pod City at Pot City. Yep. But do you remember where this one lays in the series?
That's a great question. I want to say this is in. You know what? This is in another Bohemian Rhapsody one. So I think when Jet's talking about how the gate gets hacked at the end, he kind of is revealing how Chessmaster Hex did it. I believe this is sort of playing during his explanation, if I remember correctly.
That one has a lot of.
So they never go to Pot City in this show?
I don't think so. Yeah. But again, this could also be incomplete sources I'm going off of. But this feels like a track I've heard so much where Spike or Jet or Faye or Ed or someone is just walking around the city. There's a couple tracks like that where I feel like they just pepper them in a little bit.
if it's like, if they're in like a kind of tropical looking location, you know, this fits. Yeah. This would be the go-to music
beach.
for the background.
You got a little palm tree in the background.
Yeah. It didn't happen a lot in Cowboy Bebop, but it did happen.
Right,
did
right near
happen.
the beach, man.
Yeah, and I think it was all usually like artificial beaches, of course, because it's the solar system and shit. That's the cool thing about Cowboy Bebop. Also, is in the solar system and not like in outer space.
And no one can hear you scream out there.
Yeah, exactly. Because no one can hear you scream.
You
in inner space, people can hear you scream fine.
But you can hear jazz though.
You hear plenty of jazz. Outer space, no go.
Fun that they land on
jazz.
they land on Mars in this series, and you're like, wow, I wonder what Mars is like. And it's like an old town in Tijuana, and you're like, oh, okay. It's just kind of like an Earth town.
Yeah.
We kind of did the same thing here, I guess.
I get it.
Yeah. It is surprisingly, the life everywhere in the solar system is surprisingly normal considering their vast lifestyle changes.
Sure.
Anyway, so we're gonna take a quick break though. Before we get into the last 7 tracks for you guys, we got another banger classic bebop track coming up next for you. And then, a couple more after that. And we will see you on the other half of this break.
You on the other side.
Sometimes I don't know how I'm going out. I just open my mouth.
Hey guys, this is Kevin Bartelt, and you are listening to the Album Concept Hour. I'll do another one that's not as fucking crazy.
All right, then welcome back to everybody to the Album Concept Hour. We are in the second half with our very special guest, Robert Persinger, from various podcasts such as Doughboys and Hollywood Handbook, to name a few that I would have mentioned in previous episodes. And we have the Cowboy Bebop soundtrack that we have to finish off. We got 11 through 17 for the first of the soundtracks. There's several soundtracks, as we've talked about. So if you want more than this, you'll have to let us know how much you want to hear the other soundtracks, I suppose.
I'll come back. I'll
come back.
I'll throw myself on that sword.
Hey, yeah. No problem. You know what I mean? This is the one. This is probably the one. I was gonna say this is probably the one that I heard the most, though. Like, I don't think I even knew that the other sound, like there was, succeeding soundtracks for a long time. So yeah, it would be nice to break into those at some point, though.
Sure.
So we have 7 more tracks. This next track is Too Good, Too Bad. Fuck.
That sounds so much like I'm a big fan of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I love like the way they show like the old, bounty law in these old movies or shows, and it feels like that kind of sting. It feels like that kind of like next week on Cowboy Bebop. Like I love how that sounds.
Yes.
And as far as I know, this might be the only time they use it in the series is that Gateway Shuffle episode, which is it's the eco-terrorists that are turning people into monkeys. And they're in hyperspace. And this is like when the music kicks off is like,
that was a weird episode.
It's a great episode. And it's, I think Edward isn't part of the crew yet, but Spike is in the swordfish outside in hyperspace trying to take it down. Yeah. They're shooting a missile, the missile's splitting into different pieces. It's so tense. And the music
because isn't there like internal conflict with the guys, like the terrorists?
Well,
right?
The terrorist leader they all call her mom, but I think they're all like adopted sons kind of a thing, and it's just wild. And there's a big switcheroo at the end. Spike kind of tricks her, and it's an excellent. I think it's like episode 4. It's really early in the run.
I remember.
I remember
seeing that one a lot.
It's really good. I feel like because of the rotation on Adult Swim, it feels like it's also an episode that was just always popping back up. But
well, yeah, like if you caught the first one you started to like pay attention for a few days. Yeah. You'd catch that sequence
again. Is something else, and it's the perfect. Again, and I think the thing that I keep coming back to is that it just has this huge feel. It feels like an entire room of people, whether it actually is or not.
Yeah,
and. It also just feels unique, even though there's other songs that have big horns and stings and harmonica and guitar and stuff. But it just, I hear this song and I'm like, yep, I know what's happening. I know it's this sequence when they're flying through the thing. So yeah.
Well, like this is like, like John Williams level of
this
like
is a very full orchestra. Yes, I would agree.
Well, yeah, and
production.
As well as far as how it uplifts the story and what's happening in the scene. It's it's not. There's not a lot of people that like land that so well, which is why there's only a few major composers that can do it, like John Williams and Danny Elfman's another big player.
Michael Giacchino or Giacchino or whatever is doing some really good stuff nowadays, but nothing is like jazzy like this. Like you could rescore this and you could have this scene where it's like dun 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 dun, and like him shooting the laser, and you could have a kind of generic, kind of rocky sort of action soundtrack, but the spunkiness of it, the funkiness of it is what it's all about. It's what makes it bebop, in my opinion.
That's true. Like, and to get to the music a little bit, that is like the actual show kind of represents the musical style of bebop, which is kind of what its namesake comes from. And I'm just going to read straight from the Wikipedia. Sure. It's a style of jazz developed in the early to mid 40s in the United States. Features compositions characterized by a fast tempo, usually exceeding 200 BPM, complex chord progressions with rapid chord changes and numerous key changes, instrumental virtuosity and improvisation based on a combination of harmonic structure. It's basically like jazz, like sped the hell up. Like it is.
Your time is running out, jazz.
Yeah. Like playing jazz like it's the end of the world. Yeah.
We just said it's Sonic running out of air, but he also has to play jazz.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And they talk about jazz in the show. Like the show itself is very music referential,
very
like
jazzy show.
Spike, Spike and I can never remember his name for some reason. Jet are always just chatting about jazz in between scenes.
That is a good point. It's not even just because you guys mentioned you've added diegetic to your vocabulary.
Yes,
it is cool
that
that
is
like
in the album concept hour.
You have the episode where they're tracking that bounty, and there's a little kid with the bounty head, and he's not actually as maybe the little kid that you think he is, and he's like a harmonica player. So I think they incorporate the song into that playing.
Right.
And it's really fun that it might as well be playing over their stereos when they're flying, because it does feel like the music is sometimes just like pouring out of the scene too, which I really like.
I think that, it's weird because like in this show, like it's not, sometimes it is completely diegetic, like it's in the scene, and then sometimes you don't know.
It just evokes it. It's like the Western one we kind of heard, where it's like when they're tooling around and it feels like they're on Mars and it feels like Western-y. It feels like that music could be coming out of one of the bars that Spike walks into or Jet goes by or whatever. So
yeah. Like in Guardians, for instance, like, you can see it, you can sometimes hear the music before it is diegetic in the scene.
Before you realize it's on headphones or someone is doing it.
Or it's diegetic before, and then like 15 seconds later, it's used as a big sting, like in Guardians 2 they did a few times. But yeah, this one, like in Cowboy Bebop, I feel like it really is, the line's really blurry sometimes, which is, part of why it's so good. And then, we get into this next track, which is Car 24, which is just a very interesting, like weird, variation on their abilities as a band. So here's that. Man, so much good woodwind going
there's some
hard as hell.
sexy sax.
Yeah. That's Chris Potter on the bass clarinet, actually. And then we got there is a sax as well. Gary Bartz.
Are they all named Bart?
Sax? Yeah, Gary Bartz. This is and his friend Imahari Bartz. But yeah, there's some great woodwind, and this is the scene where I guess Edward is taking control of the ship.
Yep,
so that they can't leave without her.
It's great, yeah, because it's not the part you played, but in the very starting, it's this kind of like playful sort of like do. Yeah, and it's kind of like her. And she's just kind of like moving the ship around with a remote, truly like it's her toy, and it's such a funny. Another thing where I feel like the track doesn't play very far into the actual song in the episode.
No, they really expand on it in this soundtrack.
And I'm glad, and that's why reason I'm glad for it on here, because like you said, it kind of shows it's a little bit of a different vibe. It doesn't have the seriousness of it. It's more playful. I like it for that reason.
Well, yeah, I like, because sometimes you'll have with soundtracks, like, the part that's in the scene is really cool, and then the rest of the song is kind of,
you're whatever. Like, oh, I see why they picked that part of the song. Like,
yeah. This soundtrack rewards you for listening through each and every track.
100%. It feels like they picked some choice parts, but it's all a great cut of meat. When you listen to the whole thing.
Definitely. And I think world music, I guess, is something I was kind of thinking in my head when thinking about the album as a whole. There's just so many, influences from all over. And the people that are involved seem to be from all over as well.
Or at least influenced by, because it's jazzy throughout, but you're right. Like, especially the, back to the, oh gosh, I just forgot the name of the track now, but the
Car 24.
Not Car 24. Oh, sorry, the Space Lion one, where it goes from jazzy to kind of this something more ethereal and something more worldly, which is very cool. So.
Yeah. And this one's got the whimsical kind of nature of it with Edward's character.
It's great that it's the introduction
it's such an
episode
Edward song.
Yeah.
And we live in an age of like all these badass characters with their little kid sidekick, Edward was one of the greatest. Like, Edward was actually part of the team. Like, it wasn't like there's a lot of that, trying to inject this kind of parent-child thing in a lot of these newer things. Edward was just part of the crew, some of these properties are great. I love The Mandalorian, but like, Edward's introduction into the show was just something different. And
Edward is sort of like, is just like bizarre and androgynous and chaotic and like, they're brilliant too. They could hack and do things. But there's things like the episode with chess where they become fixated on this thing and they're locked in. They can't help you the rest of the episode. And then there's other ones.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, I think the Brain Scratch episode, which I don't know if we'll cover. I don't think there's any songs from it, but where like they're struggling even against their own abilities and stuff. They're just such a fun element to the crew of the whole show. So
yeah. Just the right amount of characters to interact with each other. And then, we get off onto track 13, The Egg and I, which, okay. This is one I do remember actually from the series, but here's The Egg and I.
We're all grooving. What a jam.
Hell yeah.
What a jam.
This could definitely, okay. You were talking about some RPG music earlier. This is very RPG music to me. This is like a background of a market in a random RPG.
Yeah. You've just been given a quest and they're like, all right, go off and help me out.
Yeah.
You just enter in the forest, just
our new whimsical little village.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, exactly. A little village. You know? Yeah. Nothing too early.
Yeah, not too big.
Big personality.
Not too big. Yeah. Just big enough to have like a shopkeeper or two, you know,
and a backing band,
and a backing band. This one's just so. This one. Also, you know, you were saying, you know, as like a side quest thing. This is happening during a side quest.
It is, but a side quest in service of like it's a great episode. It's later in the series, I believe, but this is
also used when Faye and Jet are initially looking for Edward. I think the first time.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if it was going to earlier.
The famous scene where they're just going from shopkeeper to shopkeeper, and it just keeps on panning from different.
And they're like, "Do you know? What is it? Radical Edward?" And they're like, "Oh, I heard it's a 7-foot tall guy who can." Yeah.
The myth of Edward is being spread by everyone. Yeah.
But I remember even more from Speak Like a Child, which is they're trying to find a beta. Playing, they think they're finding a VHS or trying to find a beta Max player or whatever, and they're kind of wandering around and looking for that tape, and then go into like a wreck to find an old VCR or whatever. And man, it's a great little. It's another one of those things that just kind of like it just kind of washes over you, but it's such a great little adventure piece of music.
Yeah, and it works, and I think they do bring it back a few times when those sort of things happen in the show.
Mm-hmm.
There's just some really, really good feelings on this one. And then I have a note here, some European ass dudes on the woodwind. So let's see what I mean by that in looking at the personnel of this track. We got Lars Ektor, Edvard Kempler, and Bjorn Svetnam.
Boy, that is
on the woodwinds.
Wow. I mean, so they're high and tight. They're doing a great job.
Yeah, they're good. They know what they're doing. But that's part of what tipped me off to like, oh, this is like a world like project. This isn't just Japanese artists replicating all these sounds. It's
international,
people all over the world bringing their pieces.
Maybe they're from a fun little village in northern Japan that just plays whimsical music.
Yeah. They're all stationed there.
You get closer, and it gets louder and louder. I'm like, oh, what's going on in this place?
That'd be so funny.
3 dudes just.
This one actually has Yoko Kanno on it though, on piano.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna listen back and kind of hear out for that.
Or keyboards. It says keyboard, so that could be.
Well, you know what? Never mind.
The ivory.
Yeah. I don't know. Could just be sounds.
Casio.
Could be the Casio. You know. But fun little track, and then we get on to our 14th track, Felt Tip Pen.
Got that little rocking chair in there.
Was it Spooky Dokie that was kind of the other sort of twangy westerny one, or am I misremembering? Was that Cat Blues?
I think so. Yeah, Spooky Dokie. There's a second one.
But yeah,
I want to say piano or Waltz for Zizi, and this one are the big western.
The ones. Sort of western twangy, sort of ambling through a down a dusty street.
Where's my tumbleweed?
Exactly. Which is great.
Where's my tumbleweed?
I mean,
in the bar for a shot of whiskey.
That's right.
It's fun that when you're a bounty hunter, you're considered a cowboy, and even if you're not in a town with cactuses and cowboy hats and horses tied up, it still has that feeling because of the name and because of the music. Right behind it, it's so good.
Yeah, it does really completely recontextualize the cowboy genre in a way that maybe it hadn't been done. I don't know. I guess there's been space westerns, but
sure. But it would be like Star Wars without John Williams. It just wouldn't feel the same. The way that they evoke the cowboyness of it, the bounty huntingness of it out in the in the plains of space, basically, is so good.
Star Wars, but from the whole perspective of Han Solo.
That's true. It's just Han Solo's. Because he is like a space hero. Trucker in ways.
Well, if I got a movie for you, it's called Solo, and you'll never believe how he gets his name.
It's not. Yeah.
Doesn't involve those red cups.
Yeah, actually, he was a alcoholic in college.
Yeah.
It was pretty
really
dark.
Good at space beer pong
stuff. Great at space beer pong. Yeah. I wouldn't go up against him. But this one, they have that interject the country every now and again in the album, though. I think just to remind you, this is a space western.
Yes,
there is a lot of jazz.
Forgot.
Yeah. The jazz might make you think that we're in a cool jazz club, but we're in space. And then
you're that little kid. We're in space.
We're cowboys
in space.
By the way, this is Sunio Imahori again on the guitar. He shows up a few times. I think most of the time when it's acoustic guitar, it is that guy.
Wow,
it's Suni.
He's doing excellent work.
Yeah. Oh, and Yoko Kanno on some keyboards again.
Oh,
looks like this last bit of the album, Yoko Kanno's getting her fill. And then I don't know why it's called Felt Tip Pen though. That's one, like all the rest of them.
Yeah,
mostly kind of fit, but I don't know. Maybe just finished
Maybe they use a lot of felt tip pens.
He's finished writing.
Maybe he's writing
his pen, and he's like,
in westerns, did they use a lot of felt tip pens?
Maybe he's writing the bounty out.
So
I haven't seen enough westerns.
I don't think pens are a big part of westerns.
Grandpa loved them.
Pens don't usually come up.
Yeah.
Mostly like
give me that pen. I'm going to write your name down. I'm
going to write your goddamn name down. They probably had the quills, right? The quills with the ink,
Or a quill. Yeah. Give me that vulture quill.
Give me that vulture quill. I need to make this out.
And your ink will.
Someone. But this next track we got for you guys is the only track with regular lyrics and stuff.
Regular?
This is a conventional song we're about to hear a clip of.
I wouldn't even call that.
Is yeah. I mean, well, I guess
so
it depends on where you are, what you like.
Sure.
Here's Rain.
If you want, you'll find a way, but mother never danced through fire shower. Walk in the rain, in the rain, in the rain. I walk in the rain.
This wasn't like the Mars Desert song, was it?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I don't think this happens. This one comes on Mars. Yeah, that would be a little out of place.
The only thing missing is Aerosmith singing in the rain, like
oh yeah, like a guitar coming in, like just yeah.
There is a great little solo in the middle of this one, so
yeah.
Oh right, yeah. Just not this part that we
It's very the Armageddon Aerosmith genre or
yeah.
time frame.
It is a genre unto itself, kind of. Yeah.
Aerosmith soundtrack genre.
Aerosmith soundtrack.
It's rocky, but it's operatic. It feels like it's like a church hired a rock band and they're being backed up by the organ and all that. It's really I love the kind of pumping organ behind it all. Which is
Who's the singer, Brad?
Oh, this is Steve Conte.
Yeah,
is his name.
Who is that?
I don't know. I don't know much about Steve Conte.
He's got a great voice. I really like the way
got a good voice. Yeah.
The lyrics are interesting. I think right when you pulled up the clip, it's something about mother never danced through fire showers. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but I still like it. It still is pulling me through the whole song. It's really
That's
good.
A space problem.
So the people on Genius that were commentating on it were thinking that the rain is referring to the hail of bullets, like the rain of bullets. That's
I walk in the rain. Okay. I got
the scene that's happening, maybe. Which, it's, it could be it.
A fire shower, yes.
Yeah.
It's great with the episode, too, because it is when Spike goes to, it's episode 5. Spike goes to confront Vicious at a church. Faye is, been captured. So the organs really play into that scene. I feel like it really kind of evokes everything that's going on. And it just really shows the range of this album and Seatbelts and Yoko Kanno, because it's very different from everything else so far. So
Yeah. Like the fact that they decided to do something like this means that I think it is, like very important to what they were trying to get across. I forget. Is there a version of this in the movie? I feel like this has to be in the movie because the movie touches on some of that. I don't
think so. I don't believe so. But the movie has another amazing soundtrack. That's I'll put my chip down for that one too. I would love the movie. I would love to cover because that's another amazing one.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in so long.
Oh man, I haven't
seen that movie.
It's great, and it chronologically is kind of before the end of the series, so it's something that if you're watching through, you can kind of slot in, and it's the whole cruise there and stuff. It's really good.
Yeah, I remember that. Some animes are really good about that with their movies. Everything clicking together. But just really a heavy track. That episode in particular is one of the heavier episodes. And
another one where it feels like it could be the end of the series. Yeah.
I literally thought that he had died, and like every other episode was like a
dream,
flashback or something.
A dream on the way down from the window.
yeah.
Like an occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge or whatever.
Yeah. That there was that one James Bond game. That was the premise for, I think. He's like falling and the whole game occurs while he's falling. Wow,
I've not played this one. GoldenEye?
I didn't play it either, but that's how like they justify you playing through the different bonds and different actors and stuff. Yeah, it's like the Daniel Craig Bond gets shot and he's falling, and it's the scene from one of the new Bond movies, but yeah, anyway.
That's so
funny. One of the weirder like reasons for a video game like premise or something. This is a very interesting track compared to the rest of the tracks. And then we get to Digging My Potato. Next track.
Just digging my potato.
Who was on harmonica? Because you said that there was someone else on a previous track that had passed away.
So this is Chris Mikulek on harmonica.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really good. And then another one we mentioned.
I thought it was the same. I always thought it was the same guy, but
but this is an episode
this guy breathing a lot more
that features the harmonica like in the episode is This is that little kid.
Oh, is this the one with the kid? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. The kid that's not really a kid, right?
I'm like dancing around really him, but he's like older than you think because he was sort of affected by the gate explosion around Earth. And he became like almost immortal.
I remember this.
He's got like Benjamin Buttons or something. Like,
he's just like, he's more like not even Jack. He's just like a perma kid. He's like a baby Herman from Roger
Perma
Rabbit.
Kid. I like that. Perma Kid. he got hit with the Perma Kid spell. And now he's just that.
He's a perma kid, but he's really good at the harmonica.
Yeah, right. That's the thing. Like, if you were permanently a kid, like
time to practice.
Well, I was gonna say you'd have time to practice, and everyone would be instantly impressed with any level of expertise.
That's true. Even if you weren't, you could get okay at stuff. People were like, "Wow, good job."
Yeah, yeah. Like literally, if you like were able to be a kid forever, you could scam people that way. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah. Is Scam Goddess still going on? I don't know if that podcast is still going. But maybe we should mention this to Scam Goddess. I like the digging my potato title with this track.
You did it. It really
feels
just
very
feels
much like a
harmonica,
like an old blues song.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
Like what else would it be called? You know what I mean?
Digging my potato.
Digging my potato.
Dun, 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 dun. The age of 5.
I love that you can hear him breathe a little bit when he's playing the harmonica too. You can actually hear him in between a few of the notes.
Well, Mike.
Yeah. Everything's crisp. And then we got one more track for you guys. And I'm assuming you guys are all going to be watching these episodes as we're talking about them.
Oh, sure.
Stopping, starting.
Stopping, starting. Yeah, this is probably taking you a couple of weeks to listen to. but you'll
We
be
love
all
your stick-to-itiveness.
caught up with all the episodes. And then this next track we have for you is just kind of a little kind of outro thing, I guess, they threw on the album. This is Memory. Sorry, I set that clip up like it wasn't that important. This is actually a very important soundbite that comes on throughout the series in various moments of introspection or memories.
I do think it kind of bookends you hear it in the first episode with the sort of Spike Julia flashback, and you definitely get it in the last episode, last two episodes probably as well.
Oh shit! It's
usually when Spike is flashing back to Julia and Vicious and their sort of time in the syndicate. It's really great for being just a little music box style tune. Yeah. It's really, really powerful.
Very heavy.
I think that's what I think makes it stick, as opposed to a lot of the other stuff. Like this is, especially this version, it's just the music box. It's alone. It's like there's like, harmonica and Spooky Dokie, but eventually that's, met with something else. And I think most of the songs where you have like one for a little while, it's still met with something else. But this is just feels very on its own.
Yeah,
and very,
it is what it is.
It's very lonely kind of memory type of thing,
Just a memory.
Yeah, just because Spike's he's a lonely guy.
Yeah,
I don't know. He's a funny, quippy guy, but also he's clearly had some, traumatic stuff that he's carrying around with him, But any other thoughts? Any other thoughts on the Cowboy Bebop soundtrack? These clips that we've covered.
I think it's a very good soundtrack. In general, as a person who's watched very little of this,
I was about to say, are you? Would you now be interested in watching a Cowboy Bebop?
I would be actually, and I should do it for me, and I should do it for Trevor.
So good.
I'll throw my name in the ring as well. I would love if I am spreading the gospel, and I know it's always a tired thing of everyone's like, you got to watch this, you got to watch that. This is 26 episodes. It flies by. They're 22 minutes with
that's true
with the intro and outro. It's really a quick binge. I want to say like 13 hours probably total. So it's not bad. And you get not just all this great music and more. There's so many more soundtracks and pieces that are throughout the other episodes. But just a story that I feel like we said already. I just don't know if you could adapt it. Netflix had their episodes and stuff, but these actual episodes and everything that involved with them is just so unique.
Yeah. It's a story. The way that the story was told and just the way that everything was put together. It's a very unique anime in that sense. There's not a whole lot like it, and again, like there's like Firefly was directly trying to be Cowboy Bebop, and had a few great episodes in that kind of format, but it's something that's often imitated, but never quite gets to the same stylistic things like Cowboy Bebop does. Just again, if you're a younger listener and you like anime but you've never watched Cowboy Bebop, you definitely owe it to yourself to watch the granddaddy of American anime, I guess, the crossover point of anime. So before we get out of here though, we're going to go around the horn and find out what everyone's been listening to lately and what they have to plug. I'm going to go right to the left and we'll end with you, Robert. It's John. What have you been listening to lately? What you have to plug?
Oh, I've been working a lot lately, so just
John works hard, man.
Digging into, I know it's becoming. The industry is not a great time.
It's not a great time, and for anyone now
in the service industry right now. That's all I'm gonna say on that.
That's fair.
But I've been listening to a lot of 80s rock, 90s rock. It's been on 101.5 a lot.
Nice.
Otherwise, I saw The Flash this weekend, and I recommend it. But you really can't go into it with as it is. It's a fun jaunt, and it's a fun jaunt that ends, and it ends. It ends the Zack Schneider, the Schneider era is over. The Schneiderverse is over.
It's over. Finally, it's done.
The ending is quite poetic to me.
Yeah, don't tell this. No, those
I won't.
Snyder fans out
you,
there. They're gonna be
I'll
all
tell
up
you
in
when
my
we
DMs.
have our smoke at the end. That's me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Not much.
What about you, Dave? What have you been listening to lately? What do you got to plug?
I've had a few bands on repeat the last week or so. One would be Leatherface.
Okay.
It's sort of an English punk band.
Yeah.
Cake. Let's do a lot of Cake again. Got to know Cake. It's going through the discography.
Oh, yeah. Cake. Yeah, it's been a while.
Like me a little Cake.
Yeah.
And I would say last week was very, very pop driven for me. I just I got on that, going through like all the albums and just spinning, like starting from one, going back. I'm like, repeat. Start it again.
I almost did that the other day. I almost went on a pup binge, but then I just went through
once you get on, like,
different
you can't
nostalgia
get off.
albums. Yeah.
That's about it for me.
As far as me, I have been listening to King Gizzard's Petrodragonic Apocalypse, or Dawn of the Eternal Night, Annihilation of Planet Earth, and the ... Spotify doesn't have room for the full title. And I've also been listening to and I know I'm just sounding like a fucking King Gizzard shill, but for real, the Murlocs Calm Ya Farm album, really good. Like start to finish. Like Ambi is the Paul McCartney of King Gizzard, and I stand by that. And this album proves it. So definitely check that out. Wow. I also just started through the Beatles discography today. I'm going to just go through the whole thing.
That's a cool band. I've heard about that band. That's a good one.
Have you heard of the Beatles?
Yeah.
Once or twice.
Yeah. No, they're pretty famous out in out over across the pond. Yeah.
The pond is where.
Enjoy your first run through of that.
Yeah. You know, I thought it was finally time to
see what all the fuss was about.
Yeah.
It's for long hairs.
What about you, though, Robert? What have you been listening to lately, and what do you have to plug?
What have I been listening to? You know what? I am really in love with the Gardens of Gomorrah song from the Sloppy Boys. That's a single they just put out. Feels very different from some of the other stuff they've had before. And very much becomes a song about Tim Kalpakis and how much the female fans love him, but it's really good. I recommend that one. And then because of the weird, not even really adjacency to the Doughboys just reviewed Lito's Pizza in Washington D.C., so I've been listening to that. Lito Shuffle Lido from Boz Scaggs.
Whoa!
Just the corny kind of Lito.
Wow, that's a.
That's the it's a weird one, but I just dig it for some reason. And I'm embarrassed that I sang a few bars. I apologize. Bleep that out, please.
That was awesome.
Of course.
And as far as plugs, we mentioned already at the top, I worked for the Doughboys, a great podcast you can listen to, but more than that, you can listen to and subscribe to the Flagrant Ones on patreon.com/the Flagrant Ones. Great stuff. The Hollywood Handbook and the Flagrant Ones show. And then if you subscribe, there's all sorts of video tiers and extra shows and the pro version. And, there's the Formula Ones when the gang gets together for the F1 racing kind of podcast. Yeah. So there's really a lot of good content, and I'd love if people followed the boys over there. So
yeah, absolutely. I am a Flagrant One. I contribute. I'm not on the video tier yet, just because I don't know. I've been listening to their voices for so long. I understand, and
it's weird to transition to your audio podcast to your video, but it's really good stuff.
I'm very much an audio person. But I do want to upgrade to the video tier though, just because I want to help out the
Just
boys.
watch with your eyes closed.
There we go. Oh, good. Thanks, Dave. That's actually a good idea.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah. I can just, and it will be
That's
just
why
like
he gets
the
the
last
best
series.
Imagine it.
Yeah. But I have been seeing some of the clips though on YouTube and stuff. Like when they've been putting out some clips. Like I love the HeadGum like studio room thing they got going on.
It's
setup,
like, yeah, the studio's
it's
great.
good. It's good.
I'm pulling a lot of clips and trying to pass them on to the boys. And But if you don't enjoy a clip, that was one that Kevin picked. And if you do enjoy it, that was one that I picked.
Okay,
so,
that's
so
an easy way to figure that out. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a pleasure.
Yeah,
and also
really appreciate it. And what were you going to say, Robert?
Oh, just when you reached out, I was you had a list of, potential albums and things like that. I was shocked that no one had already covered this Cowboy Bebop. And like I said, I became a fast fan. I went back and listened. You found a new subscriber yourself. So.
Oh, thanks, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, I hope you enjoy, what we have out there, and we'll definitely have to have you back for something in the future. I'm also gonna try to visit out west at some point. I'm not sure if I'll get up to Washington area, but I would love to, do a little tour, meet some of the guests actually in person.
Drop me a line.
Because we've had a lot of our guests have been post-pandemic era, so I haven't met a lot of you guys in person, but it'd be nice. Thanks again so much for being on, and thank you guys for listening to the podcast for another week. We will be back next time for a different album. I do not know.
Different album, a different week.
Different album, different week, different concepts. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
The Album Concept Hour is Brad LeBaron, Dave Gallagher, and John Aker. Special thanks to King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard for the theme music. Join the discussion on our Discord, tweet to us at Album Concept Pod, or for everything else, go to Linktree/Flyover State Park. See you on Side B. This is Flyover State Park. You are clear to land.